Hi you guys, this is Rachel Kirkland here. Thanks for joining me for another week of the YouTube question and answer video. If you're new to this channel, then you don't know, but I always will every week when I do these videos at the beginning. I put a little snippet in here and invite you all to go to my website. If you've never checked it out, it's a great resource for really anything on your ascension journey, on your path here on this earth that might need some encouragement spiritually. So if you are looking for one-on-one sessions for healing or any type of guidance spiritually, as well as my classes, you all know that my masterclass that I started last year is in full swing, and many of you have taken advantage of that, and it is a total blessing to see so many of you standing in your spiritual gifts and really feeling aligned with your sense of purpose, and now moving into that with much more power and sovereignty. So those classes are available online as well. Really, it's just a great source of information if you'd like and you vibe with everything that we talk about here. Here's the question of the week. This one came in response to another video that I did. It's archived pretty far back in my video archive. If you guys on the YouTube channel, when you look back, it archives back many years, but a couple of years back, I think. I can't remember now. It starts to all blend together, right? But a couple of years back, I did a video on animal cruelty where someone sent in a question about that topic, and then this person sent in a follow-up question on that video. And this is part of it. She says, I live in a redneck town that has dog fighting, shooting ducks, fireworks in residential areas that scare horses enough to cut them up on barbed wire, and on I could go. There is so much slaughtering of ducks, lambs, pigs, and chickens. I suffer every day when driving and almost burst into tears when I see lambs being driven to slaughter. I am so connected to the energy that I feel pain of even the torture of that animal's death if my partner is about to eat a meal of chicken. What can I do to live on this planet with such cruelty everywhere I look? Okay, so first I just want to breathe out some of that. Yes. When we're speaking with another, or particularly when I'm doing these videos and picking up on the energy of the collective in a question, there is always the individual that shares the question, and there's always an energy when these videos already have the intention of being shared with the collective of those that will resonate with it. So as someone who's highly sensitive, I always feel both the collective connection and the individual's question. So all that being said, I need to breathe out a little bit of that intensity because there was a lot of emotional charge in that question. And emotional charge to me feels very electric and heavy, like a heavy pressure right on my heart chakra. Okay. So your question came in at the end when you said, how do we live on this planet with such cruelty everywhere we look? And this is a little broader of a topic. Instead of just animal cruelty, you kind of open it up to cruelty in general. So I will answer that, but I will also touch on what you shared that really stood out to me, of that you're highly clairsentient and empathic emotional connection to the animal kingdom. So sorry, there's a trash truck right outside my office. Can y'all hear that? Clearing that trash. There's a symbolic reference right there. Remember how I was like, gotta breathe that out. And the trash truck came by just to pick up all that trash I breathed out. I love it. Okay. Let me get back to it. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked. Okay, one thing about your clairsentience, which is the energetic response to non-physical energy, and being able to read and transfer and pick up on the energy of others, particularly emotional energy as well as physical energy, or the presence of non-physical, meaning sometimes it's tingles, and sometimes it's like something blowing your hair, sometimes it's very tactile and sensational and can manifest physically. Other times it's very emotional, and this is what we refer to as empaths, or highly sensitive people, and those that are picking up on the emotional charge left or experienced in another. This is a energetic field, and it's typically stored in our energetic field, but it's also inclusive of our physical body. So it's stored in the cells, in the DNA, but it's also just like a resonant beacon or a frequency tower, a radio tower. A signal is being sent out and emitted through our heart, our pulse, our literal electromagnetic little center here, our heartbeat. And so when we have a racing heartbeat, when we have a sad and sorrowful or anxious or panic energy and emotional charge in our heart rate, it is amplified out and stored in our auric field. And those that are highly sensitive, that are clairsentient and empathic, will pick up on that information. It's literally just information left in the field. And just like a computer, those that can read that information in their clairsentient gift, which is a psychic sense of extrasensory perception, then they will be able to do what you just did, which is feel the torture or feel the panic, the moment of fear in another. And even those that have left their form or their skin for us to eat and have gone on. So there is, I'm going to handle this in two parts, because there's part of it that within the indigenous community, the native communities, and I'm going to speak broadly here, but there's always been a belief that the animal kingdom was here as a form of sustenance for humankind, and that they give of their bodies, their fur, their skins, to help support us. And their souls move on, and then their souls may choose another body or another form to support humankind. And there's always been a very high level of respect and honor for the animal kingdom. This is true of the plant kingdom as well, of the earth. It's when the plants give their life for human sustenance, and it's always been in high regard. Now, only kind of recently, with such a rise of industrialism and kind of making farms into more industrial complexes, has kind of the cruelty or the thoughtlessness come into it, instead of a sense of balance that the indigenous and native communities had with the animal kingdom and the plant kingdoms. So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't want, if you've ever heard that phrase, maybe that's a Texan phrase, but I don't want to say that all eating of meat is bad, all eating of plants is, or any of those kingdoms is bad. Instead, I want to refine that expression of how you mentioned it in terms of the cruelty, or where the heart gets taken out of the question. And I think that is the key point here. And you're asking the right question, and like how do you find a sense of balance with things that feel needlessly hurtful or cruel in this world. And I think that can be applied to so many avenues, not just the animal kingdom, but also it can be true of when we look at a lot of the elderly and elderly care in the United States, where the elderly are just shipped off into these homes to die. And the same can be true And I mean, there's so much that you could look at and say, I see all this cruelty. How do I handle that in my heart space without creating a sense of dissension or anger or living in pain? And the first thing I want to recommend is that you create some clairsentient boundaries. And this is just for your own sense of functionality. And maybe that sounds callous, but this has to be done. Otherwise, you will find yourself being like the impact of the emotional energy and the charge, or the impact of the non-physical on your physical life will begin to feel debilitating. It will begin to take over. And this is where we start to kind of wax and wane on this side of insanity. And we can, when I say we, those that are psychically connected and gifted and receiving and feeling all of this non-physical energy all the time, that we can get psychosis or diagnosis of some sort of mental illness and find ourselves really on a precipice. And many of us do. And I don't say that to scare you, but I say that in a space of wisdom, myself included, that you have to have a sense of personal boundary and able to function within humanity with your non-physical connections and gifts. And I still call them gifts. I'm not going to say that that is bad that you are able to feel that. In fact, I think it's very, very needed in terms of advocacy for animals and for humane care of the animal kingdom. And I think so many people are on this planet as light bearers, as way showers, because of their sensitivities and their voice, and that voice is needed as an advocate for those that do not have a voice, particularly animals that don't speak in our same native language, and yet they speak very clearly to those that are clairsentient and empathic. So all that being said, if you don't have any energetic boundaries, then I would watch my video on how to set up boundaries with spirit. You need some clairsentient boundaries of how to let that energy, how to feel it, but how to release it, how to transmute it, how to put it back into the energy of the earth, and ask that their souls be brought peace, that any of their fear be transferred into an absorbent energy and used to fertilize a natural sense of creation among the earth and within her belly. And so the earth knows what to do with the dead. The earth knows what to do with our bloodshed and with our sense of torture and things that are very, very trauma-inducing for us as humans. The earth knows how to calibrate and rebalance and bring peace to the energy of that. Our brain still has to wrap around it, but the earth knows how to handle her own, and we are her children as much as the animals are her children. She knows how to balance that. So getting a practice of having clairsentient boundaries that sends that energy when it's felt. If you feel it in your heart, a simple practice is to touch that heart. If you feel it in your head, like anxiety in the head or headache or stress, or if you're getting tears are good because they're a literal release, an automatic release or clearing, right? They move straight through salt, which is an amplifier of light. But all that being said, you can take the tears, you can place them on the earth, on the floor, on the ground. You can place your hand on your heart, feeling the fast pace of your heartbeat, and essentially feeling your heart smack up against the inside of your skin, right? To where it's almost like your hand and your heart are meeting in this moment. And all of that energy that's being dispersed from that rampant heartbeat or that anxiety-ridden heartbeat, you can even do the tapping here. Essentially, you're pulling that energetic charge like static electricity into your palm chakra, and then you just place that on the floor, on the earth. That is a quick discharge of energy to transmute what's been felt and give it back to Mother Earth, asking her to release any and all of that fear or anxiety or whatever sorrow, concern that was transferred in that moment to you. Another thing, when I look at your question here, like, that's part of just the functionality and being functional when you were sensitive. The next part is give it a voice. And I kind of mentioned that a minute ago, but when you are chosen as an advocate, as a animal whisperer, as someone who, again, in the Native community, those few people were heralded. They were looked at as those sacred bridges, similar to the way a shaman is a sacred bridge to the non-physical. There are certain individuals that are bridges within kingdoms, to the animal kingdom, to the plant kingdom, whether you're an herbologist or whether you are someone who is just drawn to animals. And it's like you've known it, you've always been that way. It's who you are. You have been chosen as an advocate for that particular kingdom, for that knowledge and that love and that needed expression. And so my second piece of advice to you is give it a voice. Give it a voice. And the voice does not need to be one of war, okay? Because that will keep you in a place of feeling always negative and dark energy and fear and oppression. But it can be a voice of expression, a voice of freedom, a voice of love, a voice of beauty. And so many have found a true place by advocating for our love of animals, advocating for our adoration of the animal kingdom, of what they do give to us. Even when I see beautiful pictures of landscapes and flowers, I think that is such a wonderful way to advocate for earth, instead of promoting this darkness and this foreseen horrible future where our darkness is going to create some sort of apocalypse, and it makes everyone feel so negative and dense that nothing can be done, and we almost get nihilistic and we give up hope, right? Instead, being a voice that shows the value in these relationships, the respect in these relationships, the wisdom that these animals have for us. And animals have always been our closest connection to teach us how to live in harmony with Mother Earth, how to live in harmony with this planet, how to live fully in the expression of why we came here without a sense of ego, derision, and conflict. They live in beautiful harmony. And so there's so much wisdom that needs a voice for those animals. So that would be my second piece of advice, is give them a voice. So the last thing I want to say before I sign off here on this video is really just thank you. I have so much, it's going to make me cry. I have so much gratitude for those of you that are the voices for the voiceless. And you are not crazy for what you feel. You are important. And I truly believe that the earth right now, humanity right now, needs those who can feel and know and hear and emotionally connect with our planet, with our kingdoms of the plants and the animals and the bird, like every form of connection is needed. And there's a lot of purpose in you being in that town that you called a redneck town. Why do you think you, of all people, are there? There is absolute divine purpose in you being there. So thank you for living the life that you live. And this goes out to all of you, no matter where you are. Just a charge to notice where it is that you feel emotionally touched. That deepest yearning of compassion. That's there for a purpose. That heart space that you have alone needs to be spoken. Okay. I love you all. I'll be back here next week. Blessings.